Wisteria, energy, twister.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Haunted Yorkshire. We are now heading to South Yorkshire, and I'm technically South Yorkshire, though as I've said before, if you look at me on a map, kind of central, but you know. So we're going to go to Asken first. A ghost at the Crown Hotel in Asken, north of Doncaster, is vividly recalled by Mrs. Banks, who was frightened by it as a teenager when her parents were the licensees there. Her bedroom was situated on the first floor, directly opposite the flight of stairs leading to the second floor, which was used mainly for the bed and breakfast service offered at the inn. However, one room, the room, as Mrs. Banks always referred to it, was unoccupied and provided more of a storage area for furniture and other such things, items here and there. Feeling bored one day, she decided to explore this treasure trove, which looked as if it had not been opened for years. Dust covered everything, but as the room was much larger than her own bedroom, she asked her parents if she could clear it out and move into it. When they agreed, the teenager and her mother spent a lot of time removing the junk, painting the walls, cleaning the room up ready for its new occupant. And Mrs. Banks remembers feeling excited at the prospect of having a new bedroom. The teenage girl had always been a sound sleeper, but the very first time she went to bed in this room, happy with the new surroundings and tired after her exertions, something woke her up during the night. It wasn't a sound. There was no sound at all. Just a distinctly uneasy feeling that someone was watching her, even though there was certainly no one else there. Glancing towards the window, she could see the heavy drapes blocking out the moonlight, and then, slowly, they opened. She says she can still remember this happening very clearly, although it occurred many years ago, as it is etched firmly in her memory. She recalls, I can see them now, slowly drawing across the window and flooding the room with moonlight. I can still hear them. The only sound in that strange atmosphere, the sound of the curtain runners on the rail as they worked together to open the curtains. In a sheer panic, she rushed down from the upper floor and spent the rest of the night sitting on the bed in her old room with the light switched on until it was time to get up. In the morning, when she told her brother what had happened, he was not at all surprised and revealed that he had heard odd noises coming from the room on the second floor whenever he used the bathroom that was situated directly next door. He said it had often sounded as if furniture was being moved around, even though he knew there was no one in the room, and indeed, it was tightly packed that movement would have been near impossible anyway. He pointed out to his sister that, even without the sounds, there was obviously something odd about the room. Hadn't she ever wondered, he asked her, why there were bars on the window and a heavy lock fitted to the outside of the door? The Crown Hotel is now over 2 centuries old, and whoever or whatever was in that room had obviously been locked in there many, many years. The end of that tale. Interesting. Bars on the window and a heavy lock. Yes, something was definitely locked in there, I'd say. So then we head over to Coningsborough because obviously the famous Coningsborough Castle, and I'm sure you've all heard of it. Some of you, anyway. Although built as long ago as 1180, the castle on the edge of South Yorkshire, village of Coningsborough, has had A comparatively uneventful history, and not having been connected with any notable personages, or well-known battles actually. So it's managed to keep out of the history books. Its keep, however, is recognised as one of the finest and best preserved in England. There are several ghostly residents attached to the castle, though specific identities remain vague because, as far as people are aware, there are no colourful legends, fanciful or otherwise, which have been unearthed to account for their origins. Over the years, many people have reported a plethora of paranormal activity within the castle itself and throughout the grounds, including the sound of footsteps, unexplained lights emanating from the chapel, not to mention the figures of a white lady on top of the keep and a grey monk that wanders through the ruins. Tom Bremner recalls a visit in the 1960s when, as a youngster, he and a group of other boys spent a good few hours playing amongst the ruins, whilst their parents idled away their time on the castle green. Darting in and out of the walls, leaping over the ancient rubble playing army games, Tom glanced up at the keep, and there, for an instant, he was sure he saw a lady dressed in a long white dress. He did a double take. He recalls how she wasn't doing anything that would make one stare, but looked a little odd, just gazing into the distance and quite out of place. Her long flowing dress, too, seemed strange and showed up against the colour of the castle wall. When he glanced back, a split second later, she was gone. Many years later, while in conversation with one of the other young boys, Jeff, now grown up with his own family, they moved on to the subject of ghosts and haunted houses, and Jeff volunteered how he had once had a fleeting glance of a lady in a white dress while he was on a childhood outing to Coningsbrough Castle. Tom Bremner tells how he was utterly dumbfounded to realise they had seen the same figure, possibly at the same time, from their different positions in the ruins, though neither of them had told each other, or anyone else for that matter, for nearly 30 years. In 1987, Eileen Townsend was walking her two spaniels at the castle when she spotted the figure of a woman just outside the ruins. The woman, dressed in a distinctive black dress that seemed to pull over her head, though Eileen was sure it was not a nun's habit. She was striding determinedly down the grass bank which descends from the keep. Eileen did not see the figure for very long. She had craned her neck round one of the walls to watch the woman, so curious was her appearance, until she passed out of sight. By the time Eileen had hurried to the front of the building, the figure was nowhere to be seen. There are also vague tales of odd lights coming from the chapel when there is nothing to account for them. Sometimes they remain stationary for some time before flickering out, while on other occasions they float from left to right, a phenomenon commonly referred to by researchers as spook lights. In ages past, these were thought by superstitious locals to be the spirits of the dead coming alive at night. Some are seen over marshlands and now termed will-o'-the-wisp, explained as gases given off by marshes at night. But spotlights are reported from various settings around the world and may have different explanations for different types. Whether they're examples of genuine psychic phenomena or optical illusions is still open to debate, but they often appear to be controlled by some form of intelligence, remaining still for some time before veering sharply away and returning again. At Coningsbrough, along with the sound of footsteps in the castle's keep, sighting of these lights are reported much more regularly than any of the apparitions. And that's the story of Coningsbrough Castle. A very interesting place indeed, that's for sure. Anyway, guys, we shall continue next time with hauntings in South Yorkshire, where we'll head over to Greesborough. Thank you for listening. Please hit that like, share if you can, and do consider subscribing because it does really help. many blessings.
Wisteria. Energy. Twister.